There is a reason why your DM set sales calls that are landing up on your closer's calendar or even your calendar, if you're still taking closing calls yourself, aren't actually converting from leads to buying customers. And the reason for that is what I found is that most leads that come to sales calls aren't actually in what I call the buyer state of mind. Now, I'll talk about that in that specific video, but what I'll also address is how direct message appointment setters are actually being able to accelerate your marketing funnel. They can literally take a lead that just figured out who you are into somebody that does a painful on potentially the same day. The reason why I say that is because I've literally experienced that as a high ticket appointment setter, started with that in 2022 and made it all the way up to $10,000 a month. Now, if you don't know me yet, I'm DJ. I've ran a multiple seven-figure a year coaching consulting business in the B2C space where I've did over $500,000 per month in 2023 with just 2 DM appointment setters. All right, so what I'll do in a second here is take you to my Lucid Chart and actually show you the problems that you're probably encountering right now, why this is going to be interesting for you, and what the exact solution is to actually figure out as well how you can get qualified calls actually on your calendar. And qualified calls, I don't mean specifically that they have the right budget, that they're willing to invest, but that they actually have the intent, the knowledge of where that lead is right now, where they want to go, how your solution or your product is actually going to fit into the gap that they're currently experiencing, building the belief system that what you do is actually going to help them move forward. So without further ado, let's get into it, and I'll see you here in a second in the Lucid Chart. All right, guys, welcome to the Lucid Chart, and let's dive into this because we're going to be talking about the reason why your DM set sales calls aren't actually converting consistently. You may have data like show up rate and close rate right now, but even before you get to those numbers, there's something happening inside those DMs that you're probably missing out on that is defining how those people are actually showing up. So let's talk about this. Who is this going to be for? This is going to be for people that have large audiences but aren't booking sales calls. This is going to be for people that are booking tons of sales calls, but the conversion rate is sub 30 to 40%. And this is also going to be for the people that are starting out with their offer, not able to gain any initial traction inside their DMs with just cold outreach. So the symptoms that you are very much likely experiencing is that call volume is up and down. It feels inconsistent. One week you're booking 20 calls, the next week you're booking 5. The week after you're booking 13 calls, the week after that maybe you're booking 7. You want to have that consistency inside your business as well. And it's also something that we're addressing today with the buyer state of mind. Now, you may have only one closer closing deals or multiple. Out of multiple. So that means that you have one top performer, right? There's perhaps 5 people on payroll, but there's only one guy that is actually closing deals. Been there, done that. I'll tell you why that exactly is. Because that closer is actually good. You're completely relying on his skill set. And when that closer leaves, then guess what happens? Your business is going to tank and you're going to be dropping in revenue very hard because these leads aren't in the right buyer state of mind. But the closer is so good that he's able to actually turn water into wine, literally. You're booking tons of calls, but the overall close rate may be less than 30%. Your show rate is on average 50 to 60% or less on the first call. And leads are coming to your call shopping around. They don't even know what this is for. They're not even sure if they want to make a change inside their lives. They're not even sure if they have the money to actually do so. Like all of these objections are completely preventable by having a very solid DM process, allowing you to kind of like qualify these leads further. And we're not just talking about financials and whether they are able to and wanting to invest, but really at the level that they have clarity, that when they come to that call, they're ready to actually make a decision because they know where they are right now. They know where they need to go. They know what the exact gap is that they're experiencing right now because we've uncovered that and how your product or service is actually going to fit into that, building that belief system that once they show up to your call, that they actually want to be with you and be a client from yourself. And lastly, leads that come to the call without that clarity, kind of like touching into that what I just said as well. So why is this happening? This is really happening because leads do not have clarity on where they are right now and where they ultimately want to go. A lot of people, for example, think that they want to make more money. But what are the deeper reasons behind that? Would you take somebody on if you're sole goal is to make more money, and they tell you like, hey, would you like to join my program where I can have you make $10,000 a month? You're probably not going to feel any relevancy, urgency, or even commitment towards wanting to do that, right? Because it's too superficial. And I'm saying that on purpose, kind of like just to make you aware of what is going on inside in the mind of the lead that you're actually talking to. A lot of times we tend to forget that we're actually talking to human beings and not just robots or people that are going to end up as a number inside Airtable, becoming a client, having more cash on the bank account, right? And so the reason is that they don't understand how your service, offer, or product will actually help them specifically on a personal level. Number 3 is that they're unable to build that belief system that you have good intent from a value-first perspective and feel sold to before even coming to the call already. That leads to shopping around, kind of like seeing what is it that you're actually going to offer? How will this kind of like benefit me? They still have to go through all of those things previously mentioned before they actually come to a conclusion. And that leads to the scenario that you're not able to actually have proper sales calls, but it leads into kind of like a nurture call, explaining the offer, kind of like getting into the mindset and belief systems first that we have to then uncover on the call. And then on top of that, as a cherry on top, we're dropping the price on them and asking to make one of the biggest decisions in their lives likely. And you can see how that doesn't work, right? So this is why I have engineered the buyer state of mind. And the buyer state of mind is pretty simple to understand, but to execute it inside the DMs is of course a completely different ballgame. Now, if you want to understand how I deploy the buyer state of mind inside the DMs, inside the link in the description below, I'll actually link my Fire DM framework that is responsible for collecting over 25 million in cash with DM setters that I've either trained or have used that in my own companies or partner companies that I've actually worked with. All right, so you can basically go ahead and click that in the description below. That is my free gift to you. So let's talk about the buyer state of mind. Well, one thing that the lead first has to be aware of is that where they are right now versus like where they want to go and what the thing is that is stopping them from actually achieving that B situation. It sounds so basic, guys, but a lead needs to be clear on where they are right now and where it is what they want to go and what that exact gap is. Because most leads, most people that you talk to in daily life don't even know what the true problem is underlying that they should solve to get to be in a better situation. And it's our job to give them clarity on that. Because by getting them clear on that exact thing, it will show what we can do to actually help them moving forward. And then this is the exact moment where you would plug in your product or your service or whatever that it is that you're actually going to help them with, right? And so because we now know what their goals are, what their problems are, and what the pain points are that they're kind of like experiencing between that A and B situation, we can mirror back to what it is that they are experiencing right now and how your solution is going to fit into that. And by plugging that solution in there on a custom basis, that it actually feels like it's a proper fit for them, they will start to build that interest. They start to build a desire that you come to watch them with high intent, but also very low attachment, because it feels like we're actually wanting to help them. And for the love of God, I also hope that it is your true intent, but that is what the lead should actually feel like before they actually come to watch that call. Because that's what is building their belief system, the commitment to wanting to potentially change, because it feels different versus like what everybody else has been doing with them. Even in their normal life, nobody cares about them. But if you can just listen, if you can care about them, if you can reply with empathy towards what they have to say and show up as a leader in relation to what they're experiencing right now and offer a potential solution without any strings attached, then guess what happens? They're going to show up to your call, very likely that they're ready to actually make a decision of wanting to change their lives. And so the last thing that I want to talk about here in this pretty short video is that you're probably not tracking and optimizing for the right things. This is kind of like a bonus here. But like on a daily basis, then a DM setter is going to have a total amount of conversations, right? And it mostly just consists of inbound DMs, a certain amount of follow-ups, and outbound that they may be doing as well. And just for the sake of outbound, it could be inbound outbound, where it literally means that we're reaching out to followers that are already following our profile, or outbound that we've never even engaged with that person before, or they have seen a single piece of content. And yes, guys, if you follow this framework properly, you can even turn somebody that's never seen your stuff before, if they are part of your ICP, your ideal client profile, literally turn an outbound lead into a paying customer in less than 24 hours. I've been there, I've done it, absolutely crazy. This is what I've been able to figure out through thousands and thousands of reps inside the DMs, being a high-ticket appointment setter and training hundreds and hundreds of setters. So after the total conversations, then we're going to look at call proposal rate. And what most businesses don't do is actually check like what is the call proposal rate in relation to the conversations that we're actually having. We're just looking at how many calls did we book, right? But if we're tracking our data properly, you want to see like how many conversations are actually being had. Out of those conversations, how many call proposals did you do? And then how many applications, if you have an application like Typeform in between to qualify the lead, are actually being filled in versus like how many calls are actually booked. Now, just for the sake of simplicity, let's just imagine that we're not having the applications filled in, right? We're just making call proposals and we're getting to calls booked. And average setter is on average able to make 1 to 3% call proposals towards the leads that they talk to. So for example, if they have 1,000 conversations on that day, which is a little bit crazy, but just for the sake of math, then it means that they should be averaging between 10 to 30 call proposals. Now, if you see that they're doing anything less than that, or even if your setter is kind of like on average getting towards that 1%, then if you don't get a single new lead, if you don't post any new content, and you get them to be better at the messaging that they do, because it's a skill deficiency, and you get them from 1 to 2%, it literally means that you have double the amount of call bookings that you would normally have, or at least in terms of like call proposals. Now, let's talk about the second thing, the leaky bucket that you could look at. Because now what happens after you potentially increase that from 1 to 2%, or that you're now tracking that, then how many people that are having a call proposed are actually booking in as well? Is there a reason why they're specifically not booking in? If you're on average, industry average from what I've seen after working with tons of clients is 50%, then there's definitely some room for improvement there. Because when I was an appointment setter and you truly care about your clients and you have a good delivery system in certain ways of the DMs as well, then it should lead to 70 to 80% calls booked, honestly. So then what happens after is that the DM setting is going to have that handoff towards the sales team, and we're going to be talking about the show rate and the close rate, right? Now, appointment setters, contrary to what a lot of people may think, are not responsible ultimately for the show rate. That is actually part of your sales team to handle. So there's going to be a handoff, and they're going to see and send call reminders in that sense 100%, but essentially DM setters aren't responsible for the show rate and the close rate itself. They're just responsible, again, for what we've been talking about during this entire video, how the lead is coming towards that call and are they in the buyer state of mind. Then it's a closing deficiency if you're still not closing deals, but it's very likely that you don't have to have a 10 out of 10 closer, but could even have a 5 out of 10 closer, because your setter is actually priming them in the proper ways and they're kind of like already sold on wanting to do whatever it is that you offer. All right, guys, so that's it for this video. We talked about the buyer state of mind and how you can have your setters actually book higher quality sales calls that are actually wanting to make a decision there and ready to close, to go from a lead to an actual customer without having 10 out of 10 closers, low show rates, and making sure that your system here is actually dialed in. All right, now if you want to know more, inside the description below and inside the comments, I'll leave my FIRE framework, again, responsible for collecting over 25 million in cash just from DM setters alone. You can grab that for free. Again, that is my free gift to you, and it will show you and highlight how the buyer state of mind is actually being applied inside the DMs. Now, if you desire to work with me, my Calendly link is below as well. You can book a call with me personally. I'll give you a free audit where I'll show you exactly what it is inside your process that you can fix. And if that is the only thing that you want, 100%, we can leave it there as well. You get to fix that yourself. But if you do desire to work with me, you'll know exactly what it is that we're actually going to work on. That's it for this video. I'll see you in the next one.